Before you start to assemble your box, the key thing is to use these two pieces, the front base and the front flap piece, as templates to cut this shape out of. So you want to have your two paper pieces cut to size, and then we'll do the lid first. You want to position your paper, it doesn't matter which side you position it, onto the lid so that you have a narrow, even gap of chipboard showing around the three sides, or two sides and the top. Hold it in place, grab a pencil, flip it over, put it down on your surface, and then bring in the bottom piece. Before you assemble your album box, you want to pull out these two pieces from the kit and cut your papers to size following the cutting instruction, and then cut the paper to the right shape before you assemble the box. It's much easier to do it while these pieces are flat. So I'm going to do the lid first, and I've got a piece of Dreamland's paper here. It doesn't matter which side you put your paper onto your template. So for the lid, you're going to line your paper up so that it is level with that long straight edge, and so that you can see a narrow border of chipboard all the way around the two sides and the top. And then hold that in place, flip it over, put it down onto your surface, and then take the bottom piece of the box, they fit together, press that right up against the top section, lift the top section off, and then take your pencil and draw your pencil line onto your paper. Then take your scissors and cut your paper along the pencil line. So bear with me while I just cut this out with the smallest pair of scissors possible. I quite like them though because of their serrated edge. It grips the paper and they don't slip. Just come round that little curve. And then when you bring that back and pop it onto your template, you'll find that it will fit really nicely. Not pop it onto the template, what am I saying? Pop it onto the chipboard piece. Once it's edged, it will fit really nicely. If you feel you need to trim anything off, you can always go back and do that. But it gives you that perfect shape. And then you do the same with the bottom. So you bring your bottom piece of paper in and ignore the line that's on there. Centre it so that it sits just down from the top and you've got an even chipboard border showing around the three sides, and then flip over, holding it into place. Press down like that, bring the lid in, take the bottom away and draw your line like that, and then cut along the line. Let's go with a larger pair of scissors. Come round the corner and up to the curve, and then when you place that piece of paper on your base, it fits perfectly. So that's how to get your beautiful shape on your paper before you assemble your box. And do the same for the inside pieces as well. Whatever you decide to cover the inside of the box with, use these two pieces in exactly the same way to cut your templates before you put the box together. So the first thing to do is to separate out your album cover pieces from the main box pieces. So you can put the album covers to one side, and we're going to assemble it using our signature black construction tape. So we've got two side pieces. We've got the lid, and the wider of these two oblongs is the second lid piece. The smaller oblong is the base, and then you've got the shaped front and the back. So we're going to start working on the base first. So we can pop those other pieces out of the way. And you want to take your tape and put it half on, half off the board, and just grab a pair of scissors. You can rip the tape, but you can cut it as well. And I'm using a pair of scissors. These are Tim Holtz scissors that have titanium blades, and I find that the tape doesn't stick to the blades quite so much. So working round the piece, you just stick your tape half on, half off. Let me just rip a piece and show you. If you can rip in a straight line, that's fine. But if you'd rather cut the tape, then cut it. Ignore the alarm if you can hear it. And then once you've gone all the way round, you flip over, and taking your scissors, I'm just going to get a larger pair, you cut the tape right across the corner, right up to the board at an angle. And then let's just get rid of those bits. So you're left with your edged base. Sticky side up the tape is now. Then bring in your side pieces, those are the two short oblongs, and stand them on the tape right next to the base. Stand them up vertically and let them fall out, and you'll get a gap. And then do that with the other side and let them fall out. Then take your tape and cover that gap. So you want to start the tape right up by the edge of the board and cut it off at the other edge. Press it down, do the same on the other side. And trim it off. If you've got any little bits sticking out, just flatten them down onto the side of the board. And then just make sure that those pieces will lift and stand up and the tape drops into the gap. So you get a nice edge. And by doing it this way, you are edging the inside of the box at the same time as edging the outside. Then we're going to lift the sides up and just pull the whole thing towards you so that you have got the top edges of those three pieces showing or facing you. Just pull the tape back at the back so that it's level with the top edge of the base. And you just want to make sure that you've got these side pieces at right angles and the edges are right down level with the back edge of the base. Then bring in your front piece and you're going to line it up, sitting it over the top of all three pieces, and you want to be lining the back edge up with the bottom edge of the base. And when you're happy with where it's sitting, just bring that tape up and over, and then let it flop out. Make sure you've got that double gap and cover it. And trim the tape off at the other end. But don't worry if you haven't gone quite to the other end, because we're going to edge these pieces. And then we're going to just lift that one up, make sure that it stands up nicely, and then turn the whole thing around so you've got the other unattached edge at the top. Lift your side pieces up, lift it all towards you, just take the tape over so that it's level with the back edge of the base. Bring in your back piece, sit it over the top of the sides, line up those bottom corners. You can feel it with your fingers. Now check that the top edges are lined up as well, and then when you're happy with where that's sitting, bring that tape up and over, press it down firmly, and then open the whole thing out. Just pull it slightly so that you get that nice single gap. Take your tape and cover from one end to the other and just cut. Oh, I've got stuck. Cut the tape, press it down, and then just stand the piece up so that you know that it will stand up at a right angle. And then while you can see these pieces, just write a B in the middle, and that indicates that's the inside of the box. It's very easy to get confused and start trying to fold everything back the other way, and that's not the way it's been assembled. So the next thing to do is to take your tape and edge these side pieces. So you just put the tape half on, half off, cut it at the top and fold it round, trim off any excess, and go round all of these straight pieces and just edge them. Make sure it's sitting nice and straight across the edge, and press it down on the underside. So go round and do that with all of your side edges. When you put your tape on the side edge of the front, you do need to just trim that excess off if you've got an overhang, and just shape the tape onto the board. And where you're starting at the bottom, so that you don't have any little bits sticking out under the papers, when you decorate your box, you just want to trim the corner back slightly so that you haven't got a straight edge of tape along the straight edge of the box. And then you go round and just edge everything. When you start edging your pieces, start with a point, not too sharp, and put the point right down at the edge as you start to stick the tape down, and then press down firmly, and then use your scissors to either rip or cut that top edge, and go around and edge all of your pieces. And when you get to the curves, just trim off any excess tape that you've got sticking out on those. And then once all of your edges are completed, if you've got any tiny little chipboard areas showing, just take a black marker. This is the quickest way, just to touch them up. You won't see them when all of your paper is on the box and it's fully decorated. So the next thing we want to do is to put the sides together. So take your tape and grab just a couple of pieces, just little pieces, and with that B facing you, lift up the sides and tilt the box towards you and bring over, it doesn't matter which, the back or the front, and you just want to line up the back over the side edge, making sure that your top edges, let me just move the box so that you can see, making sure that the top edges meet of the side and the back, and then just pop those two little bits of tape around the side, putting them tightly around that corner just to hold the pieces together, and then do the same on the other side as well. And then we can decorate, edge the side. So to join the sides, you want to take a piece of tape that is the same length as the side, trim it at the top, and then before you stick it down, again, you want to do that pointy thing. So just cut the corners back so that you haven't got a straight edge of tape against a straight edge of the box, and do that at both ends. You don't need to cut at a great angle, just slightly, just to make sure that you haven't got any straight edges of tape level with those straight edges of the box. And then fold that tape tightly round the corner, and then when you look at the box, you've decorated the inside and the outside. No need for paint or any other glues. And then we can do the same. Now, there are two ways to do this. You can either do straight edges or the pointy ones that I've shown you. And if we do straight edges, then we'll go round the top and the bottom and edge the box again so that all of these verticals are hidden. So I've just done a straight strip on there, cutting it straight top and bottom. So either or. And then flip over, take two little pieces of tape, line up the side edges so your top edges are level, and use the tape just to hold the piece in place. And then the same on the other side. And then we'll do straight edges again. So straight from top to bottom, trim off with your scissors and fold. Now if you've got anything sticking out here, just trim it off like that. And then the last edge, trim off and fold around. And once this box is all together, it won't come undone. And then just trim that top edge off. So because we did straight edges, we're going to go once round this bottom edge here. So start on a side, so you're not starting at the front. Start on a side edge, half on, half off, and just take your tape all the way round, half on, half off. All the way back to where you started, pressing it down onto the chipboard as you go, and then just overlap slightly and cut off. And then tilt your box, and you're going to snip in the corner up to the chipboard. So at that corner angle, just snip. And then I like to do short edges first. Fold those over and in, just pulling the longer edge out of the way. And then the other short edge over and in. Stick it down. And then before you stick those side edges in, just snip the corners off. And that has covered all of those ends from the side edges. And then just fold those over and press them down. And then you've got a really neat covered base of your box. So that is the base done. So now we want to edge all around here. So again, going to take your tape, start at the back, half on, half off, and you're putting it onto the top edge of the chipboard. Don't cut off at the front, but just snip that back edge back to start with, and you can pinch then. So press it down on the chipboard and pinch to about half an inch away from that curve at the corner, and then we want to snip there and snip those corners back, and then just press the tape down onto the inside of the box and the outside edge, and then you've got a nice decorated top edge. And then do the same on the other side. So if you want to start with a point, just trim your tape before you start to unravel it. Start at the back, press it down onto the chipboard, trim it at the front, trim your corners away. The little bits are a bit pesky, the little black bits, and then press down onto either side. Now if you get a sort of a lift of tape, just trim it and trim back, it will stick into place. Side edges done. Now we need to do this curved edge. So it looks complicated, but it really isn't. So what we want to do is stand the box up like that. You start with your tape at one end and that point, little angle, like that. And you put that point up at the start of the curve, and then pull your tape and with your other hand just press it onto the top of the chipboard, making sure that you're pressing it down onto the board as you go. If you find you're going a bit off centre, just lift the tape, twist it slightly, and then repress. But you do want to make sure that you've pressed it right into the curve. And then you're coming all the way along and up the other side, and then trim off without any little black bits on your scissors. And then angle this corner here. And then take your scissors, we're going to work on the outside first, and just at 1/4 inch intervals, snip the tape up to the chipboard. So it's really important that you've pressed it down onto the top edge of the chipboard so that it stays stuck while you're snipping. Go all the way along. So it's a bit like dressmaking. And then we're coming up round the curve. And then you just press from the top edge down, and that will flatten the tape onto the front of your box. So I'm just doing it little notch by notch. Go all the way round, and then they overlap as you follow that curve. Press them down. The tape is that thin, it will press down nice and flatly. And then do the same on the inside. A little bit more difficult, but you can do it. The smaller the scissors, the easier it is. And then just snip in. My snips are at an angle here. You don't need to worry actually about snipping the straight bit, just the curves, and then just press down from the chipboard edge inwards. And then if we snip a straight at this end, that whole length will push under. And then just snip. Let's get the little scissors. Snip in here. Just a bit tricky. Of course, you can always lift it up. Why didn't I think of that? And snip. And then just push them inwards from the edge of the chipboard. And then you have a really lovely decorated edge. Now there are a couple of points where you might need to touch up with a black pen just on those curves. And that's it. That is your whole base all assembled and ready to have the lid section added. So pop that to one side and bring in your two lid pieces. Here they are. So the first thing we're going to do is edge them before we put them together. So again, back to your roll of tape. Get rid of any little black triangles. And just take the tape half on, half off down the short edge of the base piece. Just getting rid of any excess at the ends with your scissors. And do the same on the other edge. And again, you can cut it or rip it. And then we're going to do the same on this piece. So edge the two short edges. Again, you can just rip the tape or trim it. And fold it round, trim off any excess, and get rid of all of your little black bits. And then just like we did the curve on the base of the box, we're going to decorate this edge with the tape. So start at the corner, a little fiddly, but if you hold it on with your finger in place like that, and then pull the tape so you've got a little bit of tape to work with, you want to just gently ease it around the curve. And then just use your finger to hold it in place as you go along. You can pinch down in the middle, but don't pinch at the corner because we need to snip those edges. And then I'm just going to cut the tape a little longer than I need so that I can ease it around that shape. And then trim it. Now before you stick the ends down, you want to just trim the corners back. And then we're going to do exactly the same as we did on the base and just snip the tape up around the curves. So at 1/4 inch intervals, and then just press each one of them down onto the board. Separate them as you go around the curve. And then they'll sit nice and flat. And then flip over and do the same on the other side. So you're snipping right to the chipboard. And then one by one, just press them down. And then do the same on the other end. So start with your point, get rid of your black bits, and then snip to the chipboard on one side, making sure that the tape is pressed down onto the edge of the chipboard. And then press them down one by one. Just separate them out as you go, so that they all overlap, and then flip over and do the last curve. And press in from the outside inwards. If you've got any little bits sticking out, just trim them off and press down. And then the last thing to do on that piece is just colour in. There's just two places that the tape doesn't cover. And that's it. So now both pieces are decorated, we're ready to attach them together. So now you want to take a piece of tape that's 1 inch longer at either end than the width of these pieces, and stick it down half on, half off onto, it doesn't matter which one, I'm taking the long straight lid, and then flip it over so you've got the tape sticky side up. Take the other piece, sit it over the top, line up the side edges and stand it up and line up the bottom edges so that on your work surface. Hold them together and let the whole lot flip towards you, and then press down but only press on the board. Open out and then bring these tails in. Take a strip of tape and cover that gap, and just use your scissors to cut the tape at the other end. Press the tape down really firmly and then just close the pieces together, and that joins both sides of the tape together to give you a really nice joint. And then we're going to add it to the box. So now you want 2 little pieces of tape. So grab those before you bring your box in, and your lid will go either way onto the box base. So bring your base in, position your lid over the top, hold the front down, and just turn it so that you can check that the back edge is level with the back edge of the back of the box, and then just use your 2 little pieces of tape as tabs to secure the 2 pieces together. And then you want to take a piece of tape that is the length of this back piece. So stick it down onto the box. Mine's slightly short. If you stick it down it's slightly short, just lift it up and reposition it. Take your scissors and cut straight across the other edge. I'm just going to trim that so that it's straight. And then before this piece gets stuck down, you just want to angle those corners again. So angle, and just get rid of that straight edge of tape against a straight edge of chipboard. And then do the same at the other end. And then press the tape down and over the back of the box. Open the box up, pull so that you get that nice gap, and take your last piece of tape and a little bit fiddly, but put your point right up against the very edge of the joint. Straighten your tape up so that you can run it straight across that gap, and then when you get to the other end, trim it off. And before it sticks down, certainly on the lid section, just cut the corner off again and then press down. And that is it. That is your whole box assembled and ready to decorate. Now, when you've added the back piece, it doesn't want to stay flat on the lid instantly. Put something heavy on it, and as the tape settles down into place, your lid will stay nice and flat. So now we want to assemble the album cover, and before we put it together, we just want to edge the pieces. So like the box, you take a piece of tape the length of, we're edging the short edges on the spine, so the length of one of those short edges. You can either cut or rip your tape, stick it half on, half on, off, half on, half off, over the edge of the board, and then press down onto the other side to get a really nice covered edge. So do that on both of those edges. And then for the larger album cover piece, we want to edge the two long sides first. So start your tape at one end, roll to the other, press down so you get a really nice seal, trim off, and then pinch. Start from the middle and pinch towards the edges, and then press down on the top, and then do the same on the other side. Oops. So start at one end, hold the tape in place with your finger, roll it to the other end, press down, trim off, and then pinch from the middle towards the edges, and then you get a really nice finish. And then we want to do that side edge, just one. So take your tape and put it half on, half off on the edge. Press it down, cut it off, and then before you stick this one down, just trim those corners back at both ends. Let's just get rid of the black bits. And then you haven't got straight corners of tape along the straight edges of the board. And then from the middle, pinch down and stick. And now we're ready to join the three pieces together. So we're going to start with the spine. Take a piece of tape that's an inch longer at either end than one long edge, and stick the tape half on, half off the board with your ends sticking out. Flip over, bring in one of the album cover pieces, line up the undecorated edge with the edge of the spine. You can feel the edges in your fingers, and then holding both together, press them down onto your surface, onto the tape, flip away from you, and then press down, but only on the board. Open the pieces up. You've got a double gap, and bring those tails in, and then press and cover that gap with a strip of tape. Use these tape guidelines as where to stick your tape over the centre. You don't need to go too close to the edge. You don't want to see those ends. And then fold over, and that sticks both sides of the tape together to give you a really nice spine edge. And then flip over so that you've got none of the joins on the outside. Take your last piece of tape, stick it half on, half off with an inch sticking out at either end, trim, press it down on the board, flip over so you've got sticky side facing you, bring your second album cover in, and it's the undecorated edge, and you lift up, press both boards down as you roll, making sure that they are level, open out, pull so that you've got that double gap, bring your tails in, get rid of any little black triangles, they do get everywhere, and then cover that gap. And that's a really quick and easy way to put your album cover together. Press your tape down and then close to stick both sides of the tape together. And then put an eye for inside on the spine so that you know which way your album goes. And now that's all ready to add the spine cover and the spine mounts and your pages. So once you've cut out your pieces for your spine mount, spine cover and the pages, you're ready to put the album together, or the inside of the album together. So you want to put strips of double-sided tape either side of the gutter on the inside of the spine of the album cover. Make sure you can see that eye, and just remove the backings. You don't want to go too close to the crease, that spine crease. Just come out about 1/8 of an inch and put a strip either side of both joins. Take off those pesky backings, and then on your spine cover piece you want to put tape all the way around one edge and then take off the backings. So let's see if we can do this really quickly. And the last one. And then you want to position this so that you've got the longest edge towards the sides and a 4-inch edge at the top and the bottom. Centre it over the lines in the spine or the joins and between the top and bottom edge. And when you're happy with where it's placed, you won't actually see these end pieces, so it doesn't have to be perfectly spaced sideways, but you do want to get it as evenly spaced top and bottom as you can. Press down on all of those tape strips, and then just very slowly just bring up your cover and let the card just ease into the crease. And then do that on the other side. You'll see I've started to decorate the album in the new Dreamlands collection from Graphic 45. And then press it down top and bottom, and then you've got a nice cover for your spine, and that gives some rigidity to the album. And then we're ready to mount the spine pieces, so bring those in. You've got 3, large, medium and small, and we're going to layer them together, so make sure you've got the fold lines or the score lines nicely creased so that they fold both ways. And you can do that just by creasing them in your fingers or using a bone folder. And then we're going to start with the smallest, fold those side tabs in, put glue, this is where the glue doesn't come out of the bottle, put glue all the way down that centre section. You could use double-sided tape for this. If you do put a little glue over the top, that gives you a little bit of wiggle room. And then smooth that glue out all the way to the edges. And we're going to layer it over the medium piece. So hold the side flaps up. You're looking to get an even space between the bottom of the centre flap and the crease in the piece underneath. And you want your top and bottom edges to be lined up and nice and straight. And when you're happy that you've got it in the right position, then press the centre down, and then pick that piece up, fold those side tabs underneath, put glue all the way over the back, that centre section. You don't need to put too much glue on. It needs to create a grey bloom for it to start grabbing the card that it's going to be stuck to. So it should just be a covering like that when you smooth it out. Just want it to get right up to the edges. And then bring in your large piece, and again you want to centre the medium or the middle-sized piece over the larger one with your top and bottom edges all lined up. Jiggle it about until you're happy with where it's sitting, and when you've got it in place, press down. Like that. Now we're going to add extended pages, which means that they're going to sit a little flatter in the album. So don't trim off any top edges of your little half-inch tabs. The only thing you would want to trim if you're slightly out of line are the ends, top and bottom, of those spine mounts. And then we're going to stick it into the album. So go to the back of the larger piece, put glue all the way over it, make sure that it's spread right to the edges. Again, you just want that grey bloom. Bring in your album cover, and this piece is going to be centred between those two gaps between the spine covers and the spine. And when you feel you've got it in the right place, press it down. And that is the spine mount in place. There is room actually to put another piece on there if you wanted to, and you would cut that at 3 inches and score a ½ inch in from each long edge, and then you just layer it underneath the third piece that we've attached before putting it into the spine mount. It's entirely up to you. It depends what you want to put into your album, and you do need to leave room for photos, so you don't want to cram it too full. Now, to add the pages have got these extended pieces on that hook over the spine mounts really easily, and then they've got a bit of flexibility and they lay flatter in your album than a normal page stuck straight onto that spine mount would. And the way to attach them is with your tab folded under, just open it up, put a little bit of glue on the tab, smooth it out. You only want glue up to the score line, and then I'm going to start working from the back of the album. So I've got the glue section ½ inch tab facing the back, and I'm going to just hook the page under the spine mount. So I've brought the last spine mount forwards and stuck it down onto that glued tab on the page, and then it all sits nice and flat, but it has a crease to it. All the joins are going to be on the back of the pages rather than the front, so you don't see them. So then take your next page, put glue on that ½ inch tab, spread it out. I have to turn it around to do that. And then this one is going to hook under the next tab from the back, tab number 5, or spine mount number 5. So you can do it like that, get it into place, and then the page folds backwards towards the front of the album, and the tab gets stuck onto the top of it. And then fold it back, and you just, before you really press it down, you just want to make sure that it's nicely lined up with the top and bottom edge of the page underneath. And then bring in the next one, and you just carry on like this until you've got all 6 pages in your little book. So hook it under, just press them together lightly, and then check that when the page falls to the back of the album, it's lined up top and bottom with the page underneath. And then when you're happy, press it down. And then the next one. So don't change direction, keep going the same way. Put the tab over that tab on the page, check that it's sitting nice and straight, jiggle it if it isn't, line it up, and then press into place. 2 to go. I think my glue's giving up the ghost. Again, you could do this with double-sided tape if you wanted to, and just put a little bit of glue on the top of the tape, just so that you can jiggle those pages around if you need to. And the last one. And that puts 6 basic pages into your album. And then if you were going to add an extra spine mount, you'd cut another 2 of the pages and add those in. Let's press that down. So that is, as I say, that basic album structure. You've got lots of room to add all sorts in. Just go through and just pinch the top of those pages together, and you can see you've got those sort of bent pages. That's so that they open over each other. Oops. Let's fold that one backwards. As you fold them to the left, they all raise up and sit flatter in the album rather than all rising as you fold them to the left. Now, if you want to add a sleeve to your page, let me explain what I mean by a sleeve. So those are basic pages, but it's nice to have pockets and tuck spots. There is a really quick way to do that by wrapping this piece around each of the pages. You may not want to do that. You may want to leave your pages as they are and add your own pockets and things to the top. But if you want to add this wrapped piece, it folds up in a zigzag, so like that, and then this little 1/4 inch tab attaches to the back of this piece here, and the whole of that gets wrapped around the page like this, so the page sits in, or just around that bottom 1/4 inch tab. The top folds down, the page gets stuck to the tab, and then you've got a pocket. And then it gets stuck right up at this left hand side of the page, and then you've got a pocket on the front, pocket on the back, and also a tuck spot there as well. And you can add them to the front cover as well to create a nice pocket that is the same as the ones in the album as well. So if you wanted to cut as many of these as you want to put in your album, this is how to join them together using our black tape. So with this piece here, this 1 7/8 piece folded up over the main area of the page, we're just going to take a little piece of tape and just cut it to a point at one end and stick it half on, half off, that 1 7/8 piece of the pocket. Trim it at the bottom, and then you want to just do that diagonal cut thing again to get rid of any tape ends from the straight edge of the page. So you put on a piece like that and you fold that around the page edge, and then you do the same at the other end of that pocket. So I've started with the point, I don't know if you can see. Now I'm going to cut the tape. Trim to a point, being careful not to trim the card. And then fold over the edge. And then you've got a full width of pocket to put whatever you want to put in it. And then if you want to add this to your page, put a little bit of glue on your page or a strip of tape. Glue is the easiest, I think. And line the bottom of the pocket up with the bottom of the page. Line the side of the wrap up with the side of the score line, so it's sitting nice and straight on that side. And then you want to just hook this 1/4 inch tab at the bottom under the page and line it up with the very edge of the page. Press that front section down. Make sure that it's not overlapping the crease line when you straighten up the page and fold the crease line. And then on the back, I'm just going to unhook that bottom edge and put a little bit of glue down here. And while I'm doing that, put a little bit of glue on this 1/4 inch tab. So this piece comes down, the 1/4 inch tab goes on the front of the page. It is a bit fiddly. I'm sure you'll think of an easier way to do it, and then fold that under and stick the page down on top of it. And that wraps right around both of those pages. So you've got a pocket on that side, a pocket on that side, and a tuck spot on that side. And then just use your bone folder just to make sure that that little 1/4 inch tab and the side edges of your page are nicely stuck down. And there it is, a little wrapped page. So have fun decorating your album. Papers to cut, you cut them 1/8 of an inch smaller than the width and the depth of the surface that you're sticking them onto, and then you'll have a really nice, neat black edge all the way around and a fabulous looking album.